Bobby Castro had two leadership hats. I had this leadership in my organization, and then also I had a hat leadership with my family, my wife, my children. And they were totally different Bobbies.
I'm Rich.
Now what?
What's up, Tim?
Mark, good to have you here, man. Super pumped for today.
Likewise, man. We got a special guest today, a mentor and a great friend of mine, Bobby Castro. What's going on, Bobby?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Hey, Tim. All good, man. How are you guys?
Dude, great to see you, Bobby. You have been a huge impact and influence in both my life, Mark's life. Done some really, really awesome stuff in business, and we have a ton of respect for you when it comes to what you've done on the health side, on the relationship side, on the impact side. And so we're excited to have you as our first guest on the show to dive into all of your experiences.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
So, Bobby, could you real quick? I mean, a lot of people know who you are, but for the folks that don't, just like a quick 1 minute, elevator pitch, if you will, or idea of who Bobby Castro is. Why should we listen? And what are we going to gain from this possible conversation?
Gotcha. Would love to. Well, again, Bobby Castro. I'm 59 years old. Just turned 59 March 1st. Have a beautiful wife, Sophie. We've been married now 35 years, October of last year. We have three children, Priscilla, and she has two awesome children with her husband, two of our grandchildren, Ocean, who's 10 years old, Oakley, who's 8 years old. And then we also have a son, Brandon, who's 30 years old, and he has an awesome wife, Jen, and they have their first child, our third grandbaby, Lily. She just turned 1 years old. And my story is very similar to many out there. Maybe I'm more vocal about it, because I learned transparency is just so beneficial to one's life. And I come from absolutely nothing. Left school at the ninth grade. Back then it was junior high, not high school. A lot of peaks and valleys. Come from a family where what I call passion. A lot of family members, 14, 15 siblings. My dad had many, many children with different ladies. We lived in project housing in the Bronx, New York, where I was born, and then migrated our way down to South Florida and lived in project housing. My mom was a waitress practically all her life. She was the backbone of our family. My dad was somewhat very passive. My mother's Jewish and Irish. My dad's Puerto Rican. That's how I get the last name Castro. And growing up, struggling and seeing all that friction, conflict, passion, and it was just a mess. Something I didn't want to be part of. And I started looking everything opposite of what I was exposed to. My mom was a waitress, as I mentioned, and I followed her footsteps in hospitality. And that's how I picked up people skills. I started listening to some of these interesting conversations at the table when I was a busboy, and then I became a waiter, valet parking. And primarily I was attracted to all the flash dancers. These were the big shots, big watches, the big cars, the loud people. And it caught my eye. And I wanted to be that person. And I did accomplish that, but in very bad ways. It did more harm than good for me. Fast forward, living in my in-laws' house when I had a little baby, Priscilla. She's 35 years old now. She was just an infant. I started a business and I was a waiter at the Rusty Pelican Key Biscayne in Miami, and also had a second job during the day selling memberships for the Better Business Bureau. So I got into the equipment leasing and finance space. I responded, believe it or not, guys, to an ad in USA Today, made 10,000 bucks a month, and it said become an equipment broker. So I sent away for the package. There's a little story on the backbone of my addiction of classified ads. I talk about it a little bit in my book called Upsiders.
Yep.
I wrote it for another Bobby Castro who's in the ninth grade, and the fonts are this friggin' big just to make sure they can read it and understand it, because I wasn't the best in school. Matter of fact, I not only didn't finish the ninth grade, I failed at the second grade. And no one fails at the second grade, third grade, I apologize. No one fails at the third grade in public system. That's an automatic pass. So it just shows you I wasn't really in tune, didn't enjoy school at all. That's the reason I left school at a young age. And I bought that package. It was $1,700. It was not my money. It was my mother-in-law's money, Dixie. She's no longer with us. She passed of lung cancer some years back. And she took a shot on me when I burned a lot of bridges, guys, burned a lot of relationships. I didn't understand the power of relationships, the right relationships. And she was the one, the angel that practically loaned me the money, all they had, her family. She pulled it out of her bra back then. Incredible ladies. They had the beeper. They had 100 keys to 100 doors, a Rolodex of the most important people in their lives, and of course, all the cash. And she pulled it out of her bra and she told me in Spanish, here. And it was major. It was major for me. And I took that $1,700. Fast forward, I sold a company 3 times. First slice was $250 million. The deal was all cash. Pretty much, we sold 30% of the company. Second slice, $600 million. Took a little more freckles off. We took about 19% off more, and all cash. And then the final slice was $1 billion. Same concept, same close, and it all closed fairly quick. And it was a fintech company. I didn't go out to create or start a fintech company. Back then, it was not even named fintech. There was not a name called fintech. I got into business just like a lot of entrepreneurs to maybe do better for myself. The only thing I didn't fall victim to treat that as a job. I treated it and I started looking at it as enterprise value of how I can scale this. And ultimately, I wind up exiting the first time and I got really obsessed about, wow, this is pretty cool. How does this work? And that's how we took it from 250 million to 600 million within 1 year. And then a couple years later to the $1 billion. And then, of course, the journey of this incredible company that still exists. I exited when we had maybe about 700 employees. It has about maybe 1,500 today. I started putting all my freckles away because I had a different relationship with money then. I started understanding the power of compound. And every time I was so fixated on real estate, primarily multifamily apartments, that's how ultimately I gave fuel to the business, because I wanted to make more money so I can go ahead and invest it into multifamily. And without knowing, guys, the company kept growing because of the motivation to earn revenue, get as much net income, and deploy it. And, throughout the years, me and Sophie, with no investors, and by the way, we raised no capital for that company, never borrowed money. I had bad credit back then. I had no credit back then. And same thing with the real estate. We raised no money, never had no investors, just did it one nickel at a time. And we built it up pretty substantial. And today we have a portfolio of about maybe $800 million of our own legacy assets for our family. And, I'm the prime example that in this great country, what is possible, but only when you put focus to it. And as you continue to season in life, I just wish, looking back, I had some mentors. Unfortunately, I didn't. I would have probably gone there a lot faster, a lot more efficient and more effective. And the importance of having the right mentors or the right community, the right people in your life is so important. I didn't have that. But I did have a desire called curiosity.
Yeah. No, I love that, Bobby. How long did it take you? When did you start, and how long before you exited 100% out of the company?
Um, Roughly 17 years.
17 years. Was it
Took
cool?
me, well, actually, no, I apologize. The first slice, Mark, we're in 2026. I would say it took me maybe 11 years, the first slice.
11 years, yeah. So it's neat to see that, again, getting in the right place, right environment, right focus. Also, you got the chance, and he's still there, your brother. You got to work with your brother side by side, which is awesome in itself,
Yes.
right? Because you guys probably have two different types of leadership and driving, and he does this, you do that, and it kind of like
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Did you guys start that together, or how did that come together?
Yeah, we started together. Me and my brother were basically called money brokers. That's how we started it. We're just earning commission. When a business owner needed a forklift, we will find a bank that can finance or lease them a forklift. The bank will pay us a commission. And one thing led to another, and just shows you, we were invited to an event in Martha's Vineyard. This is years back, of a celebration, because we were pretty much a big producer in the Southeast region. And a lender invited us, and the power of relationships. We meet an investment banker while we were there, just over dinner. And in that conversation, it led us to start doing business with this investment banker in a very big way. And about 90 days later, we started a company, and that's BHG. And Eric still owns a significant big portion of BHG, maybe about 0.25%, him and his wife. we exited, Sophie and I, because, and I'll get into a little bit of why I exited, is because I had my second grandchild, and I wanted to be more present because money already came into my life. The fireworks did not go off like I thought they were going to go off with the first wire transfer, the second wire transfer, and then the mother load wire transfer. None of those three, the fireworks went off with me. It was actually a disappointment. I was not excited like I thought I was going to be. My wife, on the other hand, very emotional on the very first slice. The second slices, she started realizing there was no fireworks.
Hmm. That's great. Do you ever look back and think, because you had younger kids back then too, right? Did you ever think about you should have took money off the table sooner? Was it even a thought back then? Would you, like, if you could rewind the clock, would you took money off the table sooner to focus more on that time? Again, I don't know how that journey works on that end, but or do you wish you would have held out longer for more?
We dropped the ball a little bit. It's a great question, Mark. When the first $250 million transaction closed, our curiosity sparked off saying, man, did that close so quick? I mean, close quicker than a real estate deal. And only because we left a lot of chips on the table. Instead of 250, maybe should have been 350, 400.
Wow.
And we started waking up. So we started understanding the power of long-term investing. And no, looking back now, I would have not wanted to exit sooner than that. I think it lined up really, but again, we didn't have the information because we had no mentors, we had no guidance. But we did leave a lot on the table, and that's what, we started understanding multiples and what we're really building here.
That's great.
Bobby, why do you think it fell so flat when you had the exit? Do you think you identified so much with this business that it kind of like threw your identity uh, a little bit of a knuckleball, or do you think it was just you already had money, so it was just more money, or did it create more problems for you, or more questions or anxiety of what do you do with the money? Like, why do you think it wasn't as exciting as this pinnacle that we all hope for, which is this massive exit to be able to go and sail off into the sunset? It wasn't like that.
Nope. As I mentioned, I was really, I got distracted with this money situation. I wanted to be that guy that had a lot of money and I wanted it fast. And that's why I delayed a lot of success in my life. And it was all about money with Bobby. Money, 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 money. And I missed a lot of very important things called enterprise value in your life and what you're building, etc. I was not tuned in. And when the money, and then throughout the years, Tim, we were making a significant amount of, personal money through the
Mhm.
company and doing well for ourselves. And when the money finally showed up, the big, big chunk, the first slice, it was a disappointment because I think I got so caught up in the money thinking it was going to be this big. It's almost like when someone tells you about a movie, and you go to the movie, you're saying, it wasn't really that great like Bobby said it was.
Mhm.
Everyone has a different perspective. And it was almost a disappointment because I was really looking forward to how is this going to feel. And looking back now, because it's been 7 years since I sold the last slice for the billion. I missed a lot of very important things being present with my family. I was always with my children at all the sports and everything. I was there. I was a great father, still a great father. I'm probably a better father today, but I wasn't really present at times where, building a business, I'm on the phone, I'm doing all that. Hey, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Darn it. And then I eventually came up with something that's trademarked personally to me, non-refundable minutes. I could have taken that half hour and just be more present, but I was caught up in the money factor and I didn't understand. I could have managed it all really well if I managed my time correctly. I would have been more efficient. So I missed a lot of things. And the fireworks didn't go off. Sophie, like I mentioned, she was very emotional. And I said, babe, more or less, what's going on? You're okay? What's going on? And she felt bad for her family.
Mm.
She got to that zone. She was feeling sorry for her family. And I was telling her the opposite. You should be very proud of us. We decided to take this risk. We decided to take this journey when all of them said we were crazy.
Mhm. It's
Wow.
powerful, man. Powerful. So when you're looking back, right, growing the business, as many of us are growing businesses, and many of us are in both the trenches of trying to build something that creates great enterprise value, leading hopefully to a future exit. Um, what are some things that you would have changed? What are some things that you would have done maybe to be more present, or things that you would have prioritized maybe a little bit differently to build the business maybe better and build the life like, hey, I wish I would have done this. And I think
Yeah.
it would have actually made the business stronger too. Is there anything like that you
Yeah,
can look back on?
1000%. And I tell a lot of entrepreneurs, it's so important here, Tim. Bobby Castro had two leadership hats. I had this leadership in my organization, the company, and then also I had a hat leadership with my family, my wife, my children. And they were totally different Bobbies.
Yeah.
Looking back, it should have just been one Bobby. I've almost cost my marriage several times. I wasn't the most faithful husband. Um, I, I put on two personas instead of getting my core values together. I could have been that one leader leading it all the correct way versus being so obsessed with my business and actually not saying it's secondary for my family. I just was so distracted where and I thank God today that I have my wife, man. She's I mean incredible. And I should have just looking back been that one leader of Bobby Castro, who he is today versus these two leaders. How we are in our business tends to be maybe a little different, that leadership with our children. I should have been leading my children like I lead my company and vice versa, instead of playing both of these roles without me knowing I was doing it. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you almost have a split personality, right? When you're building. But again, if you don't have anybody to measure against, you don't even know you're doing it, right? You just think you're doing the best you can.
1000%, Mark.
I think that's the thing is now with the social media and everything, everyone's trying to be someone they're not. And but they do have good contrast. But if they don't have maturity to understand what they're seeing or not seeing, they could go down a wrong path very quickly.
Yeah, and it catches up to people. I know a lot of folks. I'm one of founding members of R360. There's ultra high net worth individuals, and there is an invoice to pay for our decisions, and a lot of them have ring the bell 10 times more than me. But unfortunately, they missed a lot of things that they're looking back saying they should have caught.
Yeah.
Personal things, very important things, more important than money.
Yep. Absolutely. On your side, because again, I don't think a lot of people really spend time thinking about enterprise value, especially in the beginning, right? You're like, I just got to pay bills tomorrow, right? When you're building the company. But when do you think that the conversation they need to be thinking about that as they're building towards something in the future, right? Because if not, you just have a job making cash flow and that's it.
Yes.
When did you really start understanding enterprise value, or did you just kind of fell into it, but you were in the right environment where it actually produced great enterprise value for you guys?
I think on that very first slice, it opened our eyes. We knew we were building something, but to what degree, we had no idea. And in the beginning, like I mentioned, we just started a company to just say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for nobody. And then that started becoming a high paying job. We eventually, had a job. I was able to quit the waiting on tables. I was able to then eventually quit the Better Business Bureau and do this full time. So I sub those two incomes plus a little bit more. So now I have a high paying job, a higher paying job. And I stayed there parked a little bit because I thought I was really doing well compared to, hey, I just doubled my income versus being a waiter in that. I stayed parked there a little longer than I should have because I started falling victim of just not realizing I was treating it as just a job instead of just, hey, what am I creating here that could be worth something for all the sacrifice, all the risk, all what I was putting my family through, all the sleepless nights, all the on the verge of bankruptcy, all the peaks and valleys we go through, and we fall victim to that. So we started catching it, me and my brother, really early, along with Albert. But it really didn't click, Mark, until we got a knock on the door saying, hey, we want to give you 30% all cash based on 250 million. Then we said, wow, we built something here. Looking back, we could have gotten more, like I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And looking back, we could have done a lot more. That could have been maybe $1 billion on the first slice instead of the third slice. Yeah. So, I far warn a lot of entrepreneurs, are you treating your business like a high-paying job or just a job? And 90% of them are, without realizing they have enterprise value that can sell the darn thing.
Yeah.
Bobby, how do you know when the right time to sell is, right? I've had businesses that peaked and then kind of came back down, and now they're just like, well, hey, I should have sold it 2 years ago. Let me just get rid of this thing and write it off. And I could have gotten actual real value for it a couple years ago, but at that time I didn't need to sell it. So there's a level of arrogance of like, no, I'll just let it keep on going, right? At what point do you know that it's time to sell?
Okay, great question. For me, it was the before the third slice, I was there because I had my second grandson, Oakley. And I tell you, man, if you're not a grandpa or grandma, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was completely different because I wanted to really leave a legacy for my family. I wanted the Castros to do life different than how I grew up with my generational patterns. It just hit me right there. This is the right time for me to now give attention to my family. I have more than enough money. I have generational wealth. I had to start really paying attention to what do I want in my life. And I want me and Sophie have a 100-year legacy plan. When one day Papa and Mimi's not here, that's what they call us. We want to always be mentioned and we want to show them what we were not shown. Because in generational wealth, it's a crazy stat. First gen, the creators create something. Second gen, my kids, 70% of the time, Las Vegas bets on, and the bet is pretty favorable. They blow it all. Nothing's left for the third gen, so on, so on. Look at the Vanderbilts versus the Rockefellers. And going back, the company before the first slice, I just want to let everyone know here, we almost filed bankruptcy. We were out of business. We made some bad decisions, like a lot of us do. And maybe 5 years prior to that, I'm just guessing around 5 years, we were interviewing bankruptcy attorneys to bankrupt the company because of some
Wow.
bad decisions we did in real estate, non-related, because we guaranteed the company. And we mentioned a few times, wow, maybe we should have just sold this thing earlier. So you'll know when's the right time. Unfortunately, a lot of us entrepreneurs, we sell prematurely. I'm 90% positive on that because we all have that desire to ring the bell. For some reason, it's in us. We want to ring the bell and we give it away versus where's your age group? What are you trying to create? Like I'm 59 years old now. Knowing what I know now and how I speak to young entrepreneurs is, man, they can create something magnificent in this world. AI, it's never been easier to create wealth as it is today. A lot of people look at me like, Bobby, you're lying. No, you just don't believe me because you're just not in tune with what's going on. For me, I just knew it was the time because I created already generational wealth. So I needed to focus on my family and the office of how this is going to appear 100 years later. And that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication. So I was ready. My brother wasn't ready. Albert, nobody was ready. It was a big climb. It was a big climb, and I was just ready, Tim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to talk me out of it. My wife, me and my wife, not had a little friction. She just didn't want me to exit, and I just knew in my heart, if I want to create a legacy, it's gonna have my undivided attention because it's a heavy lift. Because I come from a generational patterns. It wasn't duplicated. I am the first one. That means I have to be the creator. I have to attack this like I did for my business. And that's what Sophie and I have been doing for the last 7 years.
Yep.
I love that, man. That's powerful. And what I'm hearing though is like a lot of people want to ring the bell, right? And that's the pinnacle and that's the end of the journey for them. But you knew that that's not the end of the journey. You had something else kind of lined up. You had a bigger purpose lined up than just continuing to run the business, which I think from the outside looking in, it seems like it made that transition and that decision a lot easier for you in order to then have something else. All right, great. I had the exit. Now I can pivot 100% of my attention, which is so undervalued. Like the power of focus of what I've learned of, having a portfolio in 12 different states and having different joint venture partners, different management companies. It's like, dude, I don't want any of that. I want focus. If I had just focused on the Carolinas and Ohio, which is where my team's already located, and building my portfolio and going deeper in those markets, I'd have double the portfolio with 80% less headaches, So that really resonated with me of saying when you go into something, you can't just dip your toe into it. You can't just, let me go into lukewarm. It has to be
1000%.
white hot all the time and be 100% focused.
1000%. And for us, it was an easy decision because of what we want to build in our family. And when you passively, say making $10 million a year or more, whatever, think about what I just said. It's not even a money factor. It's almost now we're talking about impact. We want to impact our legacy, our family. That takes
Hmm.
dedication and a commitment. That's a true leadership because a lot of people miss that. They'll sell their company for $50 million and they're not even thinking about how that 50 million is going to compound 100 years. What is their children going to do? How are they going to impact life? They're just, I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll sell their company and frig 10 years later, they're broke.
Hmm.
Yeah. On your side, Bobby, as we're moving this conversation is like, you have three kids, three grandkids. What's a day in the life look like for Bobby? Because you're still doing stuff. You're
Oh,
still,
yeah.
you and I talk, you have a schedule
Yeah.
going on. You're moving and shaking. Tim and I just did a show recently talking about the family legacy trip that I shared with you about the Masters, and you do the Super Bowl and you do some
Yeah.
really cool trips as well every year with the family. But what's like a day in the life look like right now for the audience?
Yeah. So we have our own family office. We have a $500 million balance sheet. Very open of saying that because I do believe in order to impact others, you got to be very transparent. And we're very transparent with our kids and our daughter-in-law and our son-in-law. So like here, I'm at my house. Um, we have a pretty big compound here. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I have a health and wellness assistant full time here at the house. I have a personal trainer. I have a personal chiropractor. I have a personal masseuse therapist. I have a personal chef. I have all that because health is everything for Sophie and I. I'm 59. I want to be here as long as God allows me to be here. And if I take care of myself, I increase those odds. My son works on the finance side. My son-in-law is on the real estate side. Both of my daughter and Jen are in the family office. We work for Ortsac. It's called Ortsac Capital Group, and it's a family office. We manage our own money. We invest our own money in private credit, a lot of real estate, a lot of other PE, a little VC, and we passively earn our income. So all of them have a beautiful life. We live here in Fort Lauderdale, 10 minutes north. My daughter lives there. 10 minutes south. My son lives there. We are so connected as a company. We're just a family office. Besides us six, Mark, there's maybe six other employees from our controller, accountant, administrator, and a lot of things like that.
That's awesome. But you're still in the trenches. I mean, you're having conversations, you're
Yes,
underwriting deals, you're
every
connecting with
day.
the family. Because again, Tim and I talk a lot about this, about raising kids around money, right? Having the conversation. What do they have? What don't they have? How does it look? Preparing them for what's to come, right? And I think you've done a great job doing that, getting mentors and getting people around you in your
Yeah.
world to help you guide that conversation too, right?
Yeah, we have advisors. We have Legacy Capitals. They work with ultra high net worth families, how to communicate with one another because that could get complicated because we're all on a mission here, a journey. We have full clarity of what we're trying to build as a family. There's rules around it. One of the rules in the Constitution we've all signed, no family member sues any family member, meaning the six of us. And we have, from our asset protection, we have three attorneys, we have an accountant and we're working every day. My kids work and we're meeting every single day. We're just more efficient because our job, my job, Sophie's job as leaders is to show them, guide them, mentor them, because one day we're not going to be there. This money needs to grow and maintain, and they take it to a whole new level, but more so learn from our mistakes. Always be present in your life. Money is not everything. Money can destroy you. Money
Yeah.
can really manipulate you. I call it a flash dancer. I used to be a big flash dancer. I cared what you thought about this watch. I had it so wrong, and I got the wrong relationships instead of the right relationships. The right relationships don't care about this, but it took me mistakes and lessons to learn that. And that's what we're trying to do with our children now. And it's around the clock, and they're awesome. They earn their spot. It's not like nothing's given to them. I mean, they're working every single day in this family office.
Yeah. I mean, Jen's
What
on the
what
calls with you. I mean, because you're
Yep,
running the schedule, right? So
yep,
she's on the call. She's, the assistant side of things and making sure
yep,
things are scheduled and coordinated, Then obviously, like I said, Brandon, I know he's hustling deal flow and opportunity
Yep.
and all that. So yeah, it's great. So Tim, we were talking about that literally about sitting around the table with your kids saying, hey, you have 100 grand, at 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, when is the right time? I think the right time is always
Yeah,
now.
we have monthly meetings with our monthly meetings, and then we have a quarterly offsite, family offsite that's always like this year will be in Wyoming when we go there in Jackson Hole for the summer. And Dr. Orlando and his team comes in, and it's almost like a board meeting, but it's for 2 days. And our advisors are all on Zoom. We're going through our finances, and then we're going through our personal issues. We're putting everything on the table. It just gets healthier and healthier. Now, our oldest grandchild, Ocean, 10 years old, now we're intertwining these offsites with her a little bit because she's going to start learning at a younger age than I did and my own kids. So just think about the power of that, guys. A third generation for Ocean is entering a stage that I did not because I had none of that. I didn't do that for my kids at that age. She's going to be a power horse. She's going to be the future leader of this family of how to impact the world.
Yep.
Love
That's
that.
awesome.
I'd love to hear more about your family constitution and some of the core values that were really, really important in laying the foundation as your kids were being integrated into the family office, as they were being integrated into working with you and being raised around money, realizing they're going to get this money. Like, what were some of the core values or some of those constitutional elements that lay the foundation for them to then work upon and make good decisions on
Yeah.
if and when you're not available in the future?
Compound. So we have a really big in one of our core values, and it's a power of compound. And when I say that, of course, we all know how to compound money. Most people ignore the power of it, and I sound like a parrot, but I have to say it again. 1 penny a day, compounded every day for 30 days is over $5 million. One extra day is over $11 million. Same thing with your time. If you can compound your time, there's no difference of how you invest your time. When you start investing your time correctly, you will be a great investor with money. So our thing is about compounding because what Sophie and I wanted to do was bury it in our children and their spouses. And a lot of families don't want to bring the spouses, the daughter-in-law, son-in-law in the finances. Well, how are you going to leave a legacy if we leave these two incredible people out? So it's all transparency, and they have a mindset of the power of compound. They understand the long-term lens in life. And that's the biggest mission Sophie and I have is to make sure they understand the power of compound. It's the eighth wonder of the world. It's the most powerful thing. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that's why they can't compound their business, meaning scale it and create enterprise value. So the compound effect, Tim, is very big. We focused on that probably for the first 3 years heavily. As soon as we exited the last slice, we were on our family office. We were all over on it. I hired personal coaches. I had to go, I went to Arizona and all these deserts. I hired a coach that consulted with the Amway folks, the DeVos family, that he did some work to really get me in a check mark because I just came out of a institution, a very powerful, moving fast thing, and I had a transition, but I was so humble that I look for guidance. I look for advisors. I pay for that because I want to get there sooner than later, and I don't want to make the mistakes.
Mm-hmm. That's
Love
awesome.
that.
Big thing too is compound. What I see a lot of business owners, they compound problems, not money.
Yeah, 1000%.
So they're not having full transparency conversations with their team, their spouses, their partners, and everybody. So then and they lack communication, constant communication on problems and where you're at, where you want to go, making sure everyone's aligned, right? Like if you're forecasting a big vision, it obviously too, I would bet it gets people focused on, not I don't need things now. Like it like gives them the vision, like I don't need it today. That $3,000 is $3 million in 10 years, 20 years, 30, or whatever from now. Is it really worth that today? So it gets them questioning just one extra question that might like limit them just from, because again, when you get a certain amount of money, you buy whatever you want. That doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Right.
And our granddaughter, our oldest one, like I mentioned, Ocean, she's now getting, if you ask Ocean, for example, PMA, positive mental attitude, all day, every day, I have a trademark. It's not a business, it's just personal. She says, what is PMA? Well, everyone will know positive mental attitude. She says, and this is when you know she's getting it. It's about solutions, Papa. And then you ask her, what's non-refundable minutes? She will tell you, you can burn them, you can give them away, spend them, or invest them. I'm going to invest them. That is what we're building, that type of mindset. And with all that I just said, it's all about solutions. It's all about positivity, treating other people kind, having the meaningful relationships, the right relationships, and having that long-term lens. Nothing happens overnight. We create this one day at a time.
Yep. That's cool. Tim, what were you
Really
saying?
good. No, no, I'm
Oh, no, that's awesome.
And the
Um,
money factor, guys, the money factor, I'm blessed to say pretty much we have a great life.
yeah.
We'll leave this summer. We'll go to Jackson for a month, and we'll go to a month in Europe right after that.
Yep.
We do all this thing. We have the boat, a bunch of cars, you have a plane, you have all this beautiful stuff. It means nothing. It means we have these things because because we earned it.
Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
not the priority in Bobby's life or his family's life. Before that was a priority. That's where my marriage got a little dusty. That's where I got a little dusty in general. You create dust. What is the true meaning of your life? What are you trying to create? Who do you want to be? So my mission every day, I want to meet that better version of Bobby. I'm so obsessed with constantly improving myself. It's beyond belief. I work on myself so much, and there's no ceiling to that, man.
Yeah. Well,
Bobby,
you're in
Bobby,
better shape than when you were in 30s. You know what I mean?
yeah,
1,000%.
you look great, by the
1,000%.
way.
Thank
Yeah.
you, buddy.
So Bobby, I feel like a lot of your personal development, a lot of your continuous improvement and never-ending improvement has come from pain points in the past, right? It's from not being as great as you are today. It's from not being the husband. It's from not being the business owner. It's from making dumb business decisions
Yep.
and money decisions, right? And that stirs and fuels the desire and the demand that you have today to hold yourself to a higher standard. Do you think that how are you able to let your kids feel that same struggle and pain points, right, without maybe suffering, right? How do you figure out how to convey that desire, that demand, that fuel into them if they never experience that themselves? Or how can you do that? How can they experience
Yeah.
that?
So they have the front. So great question. So for the last 7 years, and of course, the help with a lot of great advisors, they had the full unedited movie. Sophie and I, not one time, Tim, hundreds of times, gave them all our good, bad, and ugly. We're so transparent, telling them we didn't leave out anything because the biggest treasures are our mistakes. And then we tell them about the lessons. We are constantly over communicating our journey. And
Mm.
it was all about the dark moments, not the celebrations. Everyone wants to talk about the celebrations. I want them to constantly understand and hear and feel the pain that we went through. Not like, oh, mom and dad busted their butt to earn this. None of that crap. What we did wrong in life, how it affected us, how it delayed us, how it almost separated us. Because they're married. We want them to have the best, because fall in love, everyone says, oh, I fell in love with the first day. No, you keep falling in love with your wife, your husband. It's every day you got to fall in love. If you don't fall in love one time, so we're just the transparency is beyond belief. In the beginning, one advisor, which we let go of that advisor in the beginning, one of many, because he felt like we shouldn't be so transparent with our finances right now. We said, no way. I'm not doing that to my kids. No freaking way. I want them to understand it. And it was the best decision I made. And that's called leadership. That's called courage. And I want that transparency. And I want them to be transparent for their children. I want them to be transparent in life. I want them to be good stewards.
And I think, somebody might hear that and they think, well, I don't want, right, to air out all the dirty laundry and I don't want them to judge me because these are my kids and they see me as a hero. Dude, I bet they see you as more of a hero today, right? And they see the flaws, they see the improvements because being a hero isn't not having flaws. It's overcoming those flaws and then becoming an amazing, better person and continuously developing and improving.
You're spot on, dude. It's been a home run. My relationship with my children, Sophie's and her relationship with her children, I can't, we're so blessed, and that's from the friggin' transparency, man. We don't leave nothing and we don't hold nothing back.
I
Right.
love that. And do you uh, lead those conversations on your own? How can somebody who's listening to this really integrate that into their own life and their own lifestyle with their families today, starting from scratch? Like, how can they have more of these transparent conversations? What would you advise them?
So you don't have to start like Bobby and I, because we have a few dollars to have all these incredible advisors to mediate all this stuff. I mean, it's just really incredible. I mean, what we have, and they guide us through that. And looking back, if I didn't have the financial means, and a lot of people think legacy has something associated with money. It doesn't. It means, how do you want your children to do life? How do you want your children to see life, be life? And that's all about building that legacy. It's not about the money factors, how you want them to impact their own life and others, how you want them to be, what type of stewardship you want your children to be in life. That is leaving a legacy. And a lot of people associate legacy with money. It's not. It's about the freaking core values. Just like a company, when you
Yeah,
build
it's
a company, you
mindset.
start a company, you have core values. It's all built on the core values. The core values, if they don't come first, it's all going to come crumbling down. So if I was a family, you start getting on the internet. There's all free content everywhere. You go to YouTube, because I'm a ding dong, YouTube, or go to ChatGPT. Hey, I heard this guy, Bobby Castro, on a podcast. He just told me to ask you, can you give me some fundamentals of how to have transparency with my family? And he said about this. Download the damn video we're doing this podcast. It'll tell you exactly, and it'll guide you to what to say, how to say it, because it's not what you say, it's how you say things. And what you want from your children is a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be the authority in the room. You want to be their best friend in the room.
Yep. I mean, the you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, right? Like, it's, hey, you're having the conversation, and you by just exposing them to the conversation, let the
Yes.
conversation happen, and you
It's going
might
to be tough in
fumble
the
and you might
beginning,
make
Tim.
mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But having the conversation, it's like, when I see a new parent, they get all worked up about, like, oh, I don't want to mess up my kids. And I was like, dude, you're going to be a great parent because you actually give a shit about
Yeah.
not wanting to mess up your kids, right?
Yeah.
You thinking about that shows that you're going to be a great parent, right?
1000%.
And the same thing here is, like, you just trying to have the conversation will start leading you down the path, and then you start allocating some resources. You keep on asking better questions, you're going to get better answers, and all of that will continue to compound.
Because if they don't do it, Tim, the world we live on now, the internet, social media, they're going to get the wrong type of intake. And
Mm-hmm.
they better get on their game, because that's their competition. That is the enemy. And one thing I want to warn some people, because in the beginning it was rough and tough for us. I'm not going to exaggerate at all, because when we're families, husband and wife, children, son, daughter, they always get the worst of us. Everyone, like in the company that I was part of, they saw the better Bobby, the best Bobby, but my family saw the radical Bobby that's all stressed out. Again, I talked about wearing different hats. And it's so the sensitivity of the conversation, we get so reactive with one another that unfortunately we falter. And the darn thing, we all quit after 10 minutes. In the beginning, it's going to be sensitive. It's going to be hot. The less is better. And my recommendations to mom and dads, don't be reactive.
Yep.
Don't be reactive. Just hold it. Don't be reactive. No children, if I can give any advice, the first year was very tough for us.
Mm-hmm.
Very tough, because I just came off of selling this company this and trying to create this. I was all over the place. A lot of reaction. Everyone was reacting really quick. And thank God I just listened to my advisors and how they guided me and Sophie.
Yeah, the key is being consistent with it too. Don't abandon it when it goes south. I think there's a lot of lessons in that with employees as well as children. And then not only that, your grandkids being younger, having those conversations, it won't be as emotional maybe, because with your kids, you're probably sitting down with them in the teens and 20s, a little bit different age range. So it's definitely more charged. And our personality in general is like, we're very excited. So they're like, whoa, you're attacking me. It's like, I'm just excited. Like, what are you talking about? Because Dina's always.
And Mark, you just reminded me, it becomes fun, like with our granddaughter, the oldest one, 10 years old, because she can take some of this intake. Like every Wednesday, we buy Bitcoin. and Ethereum. Every Wednesday, there's a big chunk. Wednesday at 10 o'clock, no matter where the price is, we just keep buying. But where I'm getting at, on this incredible device that's so intimate to all of our lives, baby Ocean, my first baby, my first grandbaby, she gets to see the compound of how it actually works, not the spending of it, of the creation of it. Think about, like I mentioned, the compound. Think about how I'm teaching her, we're teaching her the relationship with money. You don't go out and spend money and go buy a bunch of candy and all that because you're giving it away. Can you imagine if we do this, it multiplies by 10?
Yep.
Think about just the education alone, where any parent, no matter where you are financially, you could buy a Bitcoin. And I'm not preaching Bitcoin here. We're just getting into it. You could buy 10 cents a day. It's just education. Educate your children. Teach them what you screwed up with. Show them how you screwed up, how you settled and didn't go for life. Make sure your kid just doesn't settle to become a cop. Not to say nothing wrong with a cop, but I'm around a lot of parents, firefighters, these incredible people that sacrifice and risk their life for all of us. I hear them. They're constantly struggling. And then next thing I know, they're pushing their kid to become a firefighter. Yep. How do you want your kid to become a firefighter, Bobby? When you're struggling, once you tell them, go for it, do something. That is legacy.
Yep.
Not to repeat these friggin' patterns. That's why we're all stuck.
Yep. Absolutely. And this is why a lot of these parents or kids end up getting in trouble in the future with drugs, suicide, and all these other things because they put so much pressure on their children.
1,000%, Mark.
Without any kind of like what's going on. So I love it. Cool.
1,000%.
Bobby, how can people learn? You got the book Upsiders, obviously. It's out there on Amazon everywhere. What else you got going on? I know you have R360. You want to give a quick shout out about what that exactly is?
Yeah, R360. So again, me and Sophie are founding members of R360. We have about maybe 192 members. Requirement is you got to be $100 million bona fide net worth or more. You got to be a cool cat. You got to bring value to the community. There's no pitch fest. There's no nothing. Matter of fact, we came out, I don't know if it was the Wall Street Journal or New York Times. We turned down two significant people. I cannot say their names. Let's just say that, they're over $10 billion. We turned them down because they had something that's not your friend. Ego's not your amigo. They had still the ego. We have all let the ego go, and we're looking to impact our family and looking to impact the world and just feeling proud about ourselves. So that's about sub 200 members. We'll grow it to about 500. There are members all around the country. We get together. We're going to be in Hilton Head May 1st. You're talking about maybe $600 billion of personal net worth. And my kids are part of that with their kids. And they all have the same type of mindset, legacy. It's not about the money we have. It's not about what you can buy. There's no fireworks to that. It's how are you going to impact your life so you can impact other lives.
Yep. That's great.
That's very powerful.
R360, what's the website?
R360 Global. You can find them on the internet. Great, a great community that I lean on a lot, like a lot of resources. Matter of fact, I'll be in Jupiter at, can't mention their names, but a great dinner this week. And, you just Crescent. I do a lot of business with Crescent. Yep. Got me me and my brother, almost like a one-on-one meeting with one of the wealthiest people on the planet. His politics are not the same view as ours, but he was a cool cat. We met him in San Francisco. He's probably number 5 on Forbes. And think about just sitting down with somebody like that for some time, what value you can get. So that is tremendously benefit, Eric and I. Just being inspired of being a better person. How these people are impacting the world about water, energy, doing big things, not going out buying another Ferrari. They already have a Ferrari. They did that.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. Tim, any other departing words, man? I know everyone's got a lot going on. Bobby, I absolutely appreciate you being here.
Thank you,
I'm always excited to hear what you got going on and sharing with the world. I think people's got to get over and check out the website. More importantly, get over to Amazon, buy the book, Upsiders.
Yeah, Upsiders. It's a book, and you can get it on also audio. I got off of social media about over a year ago, because I felt myself a little bit a fallen victim to some other folks that I try to inform them, don't let social media take over. And I found myself about a year and a couple months ago, I was even scrolling. And I never did that before. And I found myself scrolling other people's lives. And one day I caught myself, no way, I'm not smoking that crack. No way. And
I
so I
love it.
decided to give that a rest. But I met some incredible people there. Also met some phony bononis. You
Yeah,
know, that always comes with the territory.
absolutely. Awesome.
No, it's been an amazing conversation. I mean, obviously we've spoken before, and we can talk 100 more hours on this stuff, man. It's so powerful and so insightful, and
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being as transparent as you have been regarding your entire journey, both personally and professionally. And dude, it's awesome to see what you're still building, right? And the impact you're still making, and continuously giving back. So we appreciate you being here, Bobby, and sharing all the different insights that you did. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank
Absolutely.
you,
Thank you,
Tim. Thank you,
Bobby.
Mark. Thank you,
Appreciate you guys.
guys.
Have a great
Aw-
day. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys being here. We will see you next week and every week on I'm Rich. Now what?